I want to bring to your attention my sweatshirt. Now, some of you may know, because you've seen my previous post, that I was in the Kilauea volcano it was December 24. And my son and I went 3 days after it started erupting. So, why am I pointing this out to you? Well, because I feel like in our world right now, people are erupting just like the volcano. Now, I also remember way back in 1989 when I was in Hawaii, the volcano went off while I was there, but it leveled homes. And my flight out was actually canceled that day because the planes couldn't fly. So the volcano is what I don't want to see in full force in our world. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about again right now is when I was in heaven during my near-death experience, I was approached by Jesus. I'm going to share the story again because it never gets old. The message never gets old. And we all need to hear this message again. So Jesus approached me and said, Megan, can I talk to you? And I said, yes. And, he said, what is it that you still seem to be struggling with? And I said, well, Jesus, I've been violated so many different ways in my life. I've been, sexually abused as a child. I was in a horrible fatal car accident at age 9. I had to, my whole life during my teenage years, I didn't have a life of my own where I could just be this normal kid. My life wasn't anything, quote unquote, normal, whatever that means. So I didn't have a freedom to express myself in the age bracket where I was. Yes, I had friends, but I was also very responsible. I'm the eldest of four, and I have three younger brothers, two of which are a lot younger than me, 12 and 13 years younger than me. So I had them as my life in my teenage years, and I adore them. But that was a part of my structuring, okay? Taking care of them. And when I was 20 is when I had the rape. So there are a lot of things that happened to me, very traumatic and very significant in the first 20 years of my life. I'm explaining more to you. But anyway, Jesus already knew all this. So when I told Jesus what I was thinking, he said, okay, well, what if I were to ask you this question? He said, if I were to tell you that every experience in your life is a child, what would you do to those children? And I said, evict them immediately. They're old enough and they can take care of themselves. And that was my response back then. And really, that's such a sad response, but that's what I knew. That's what I was taught. So he said, okay, well, we have more to talk about. So he didn't let me remember, or God didn't let me remember what the rest of the conversation went into. But I am allowed to remember the last part of that conversation. And Jesus asked me a question again. He said, Megan, I'm going to ask you, knowing that every experience is a child within you, what would you do to these children? And keep in mind, he said, that every child is you. And from that moment on, I have never forgotten the impact that that moment had on me. So, what I understood was that I had to give myself permission to be my own authority and parent. I had to protect myself. I had to embrace all of the children. So that's what I understood. And Jesus, his response to me was, that's beautiful. Um, so what would you name your children if you could name them? And when he asked me that question, I was kind of embarrassed because I thought I should have figured this out by now. I should have had the answer. I'm in heaven. I've already had my life review. I've already sat at God's table. I'm like, but I didn't. And I know that I've talked about this before, but in case you missed it, you're hearing it. So I looked down at the ground and I welled up with tears in my eyes. And then I looked back up at Jesus and I said, I would name them all love. And he said, that's beautiful. Why? And I said, because I understand now that love is the reason why everything's happening. Everything. Love gave me the life that I'm living. Love gave me everything to help me, my soul, expand. So that's what love did for you and for our world. Now, I understand that may seem a little overload. Like, how is it that love would allow war to go on? How is it that love would allow sexual abuse in children, such as what happened to me? Well, love doesn't allow it. No, humanity does. So, question is, are you being responsible for what it is that you want to have happen in our world? So I am sharing stories. God told me share everything. Oh, and I should back up because I forgot to tell you. When I understood in that light bulb moment between Jesus and I, like who I was when he reminded me that every child is me, I said, I would acknowledge, he said, what would you do to them? And I said, I would acknowledge them. I would listen to them. I would nurture them and I would love them. And that's so incredibly important that you hear that because I want that for you. I want that for everyone in our world. I want everyone's inner child to be spoken to be acknowledged, to be loved, nurtured, and listened to. So just because someone's child lives on the other side of the world from you doesn't make them obsolete. It makes them further away in distance. That's it. Because they're still living a reality. Okay. And we're all living a reality. Now, getting back to what I said a moment ago about love gave me my life and everything that happened in my life. And so all of the traumas that I've referred to, and those weren't even all of them. I mean, that was just, that's a smidge. Okay. So how can I stand by and say, yeah, love gave me exactly what I asked for? Well, because now I understand how the world works and how the universe works. And yes, I understand it from my near-death experience. That's what catapulted me into developing a further understanding in myself and why life happens. Okay? So I I thank God that and heaven that I was allowed the opportunity to reincarnate, which is not something that I was raised with in the Roman Catholic Church. That's not a part of the curriculum that I was taught. If they're teaching it now, I have no idea. And then because of the rape that happened when I was 20, I became an atheist. And I was that for 18 years. So again, reincarnation doesn't come into that. It doesn't. So when I learned that reincarnation is real And I did learn that while sitting at God's table when I very first got to heaven in 2007. You know, I said, reincarnation's real? And he informed me, yes, it's very real. And you've had many lives. Well, that's no joke. I've had lots of lives, lots. But so have the rest of us, you. Okay. So if there's somebody here who's on this planet for the first time in, oh my gosh, wow, you chose a doozy. I mean, we all did. But here's the thing, every one of us in life has chosen to be here at this time in the world. Okay. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. What matters is that you understand what your purpose is. Okay. So it doesn't, I want you to take out of the equation of how you think on a political level, on a religious level, because this isn't about that. This isn't about policies of how you're going to, run your community or a state or a nation or a country. Okay, it isn't about that. What I'm asking you to do is to show up now with a newfound responsibility, perhaps. Maybe you've never heard this type of talk before. I don't know. So I'm speaking to you too, and to any atheist. Look, put the religion aside. It doesn't matter. Religion is not a part of love. Love is not a religion. So what I want for all of us is to understand with clarity that there is a purpose, that we are here alive at this time of our lives. Okay. It's now 2026. Okay. And we have a responsibility to correct the patterning that we are witnessing in our world right now. And I go back to my NDE, and I'm going to keep going back to it because it taught me so much. But the story of what I experienced there, oh, as huge as it is, okay, and I've been challenged, trust me. I've had people come at me in responses to podcasts that I've been a guest on, saying things like, well, I've studied near-death experiences. I've never heard anything like this. This is impossible. Or I've heard over 2,000 NDEs, or they refer to themselves as an NDE expert. I love that. And haven't had an NDE themselves. So what I'm saying is that these people are saying she's exaggerating. She's telling stories in order to sell her book. No, I'm telling you the stories that we all need to hear. This isn't about a book. This is about a message of love. So what God gave me and what heaven gave me, okay, was proof. They made sure that when I went in there as a hardcore atheist, look, all I could think about after my life review was like, if I had a watch on, I'd be like, I got to go. I got to go. And I remember thinking that as I'm walking with Jesus and Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, El Morya, and Saint Germain. So I'm just thinking about getting back home, being a mom. My son was 4 at the time. And now it's like, oh, we're going somewhere else. Oh, and now I got to go. What do you mean? People want to meet me. Okay, I don't get it. And then I got it. It became a very big, huge personal awakening. And that awakening is not something that I need to hold inside of myself only because I'm too worried about what someone else is going to say and how they're going to receive my message. I have so many incredible messages of love. And that's what we need to reach for right now. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You are love, okay? You have a purpose in being here. Your life may look really fucked up right now, and you're just going, how, why? It doesn't make any sense. What am I to do here? And the answer is you're to love yourself. And even if no one gave you the reason to do so, I want you to really listen to your inner self, not the wounded child who says, I'm unworthy, not the wounded child who says, well, I didn't amount to anything, or the one who said, they threw me away. Okay. It's what you agreed to in order to understand who you are as a soul. And all of these experiences in life actually helped you, believe it or not, grow in a spiritual, loving, soulful way. I promise. And everything in your life, no matter what choices you made or continue to make, but let's just take it up to this moment, okay, where we are right now and anything previous. Every choice that you made, I want you to reflect on it. I want you to ask yourself, did I make that decision because I wanted to? Did I make that decision because I felt intimidated? Did I make that decision because my family wanted me to? My religion wanted me to? Did I make that decision from a place within me that felt like, yeah, I align with this? This is what I'm stepping up to support. Is that why you made your decision? And you know what? Look, 20 years ago, hey, I made decisions 20 years ago I would not be making today. Okay. So keep that in mind. And this is a great thing, by the way. I mean, thank God for personal evolution. Okay. So we all want to evolve. We all want to get past whatever we're working through. But I'll tell you something, you can't ignore it because you never leave it. You never do. It's always here in your heart. And once you leave this planet, when it's your time to go, you're going to look at it again. And like me in my life review, I remember thinking, okay, because they would stop, my guides would stop my life review from playing so that I could emote in whatever way that was being expressed at the moment. And I remember them asking me, how are you feeling as I'm watching something? And so they would always have me look within. And so what I had to face was myself and why I made decisions that I made. And a lot of the decisions were made in fear, fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in, fear of whatever. And sometimes the fear translated just as my not lending my voice to a situation, sharing my own thoughts, because I didn't want to rock the boat with someone or others. And I didn't want to be, oh, you know, I didn't want to be in a position where I had to feel as though I had to defend myself. Now, so that was then, okay? That's not who I am now. So give yourself that space and that room where you can look at yourself and honor yourself and go, well, you know what? That's what I knew then. It's not, it's not how I would respond now. Instead, I would now fill in the blanks. What would you do? What would you do? So all of these things that I experienced in heaven helped me tremendously because I remember coming back feeling a sense of relief, absolute relief. And that relief allowed the weight of the anger and the rage that I'd been carrying for years to fall away. But the only way that that anger and rage could fall away. Now, granted, I just spent many days, okay, in a place that's just the highest and holiest frequency of love. So That's all I felt was love. But what I understood was God's first order to me. He said, Megan, tell everyone, acceptance is synonymous with love. So he's right. All of those experiences that Jesus, we talked about, I had to accept them all. And I do. And guess what? Those who needed to be forgiven have been forgiven, including myself. So when you stop and think, this is what happened to me, okay? So I'd forgiven everybody, but I didn't know. I literally did not know until I was having a conversation with someone. And all of a sudden, there were so many similarities we had, and it hit me. Oh my God. I have been looking at myself through someone else's eyes, not my own. Okay, so that was a huge moment. And when I realized that, then I had to forgive myself for what I didn't know. So I didn't get angry at myself. I realized, wow, I didn't know any better. And how can I be angry at myself for what I didn't know? You see what I'm saying here? So let's just go global here. How can we be angry for what's happening right now when we don't know how to correct it? How can we be angry at others for acting out and being violent when they don't know any other way to express themselves and get their point across? How can we be upset with a world leader who is threatening the lives of everyone everywhere when he was never taught about love? It's a tough, tough thing to think about. So it is so incredibly important that you start listening to yourself, reevaluating how you are applying yourself in our shared world, how you have stepped into your life, or perhaps where you stepped out and why. Ask yourself these questions. There are reasons. We all have them. So remember, you are love. You are so incredibly valuable to the system of life. Okay? And whether you've been told that or not is irrelevant. Sad, but irrelevant, because those who we grew up with and those who we surround ourselves with, whether they know how to say or knew how to say, you are valuable, you are so incredibly perfect as you are. Wow. If they didn't have that type of a dialogue, if they didn't have those words for you, and you grew up feeling otherwise, such as myself, it's tragic. It is tragic. But you can still learn love, and you can still learn why you are so incredibly valuable to the entire system of humanity. So I really want all of us, really truly, all of us to step forward peacefully, only peacefully. Okay? We don't need to escalate anything more. We need to de-escalate. We need to speak with intelligence. We need to acknowledge one another's pains. Okay. We need to listen to them and really reevaluate how we as an individual respond to them. Because as we respond to them, we are responding to ourselves. Yeah, it's true. So let's all be the gift that we are to this world for one another and continue to move forward in life right now as a representative of love. Call yourself an advocate for love, like I call myself, because that's who I am. Okay. This is how important it is to know love. I gave myself a title. I'm not just mom. I'm not just ex-wife. I am love. And this is what I want everyone to know, that everyone is love. Everyone, no matter where you are, what you're going through in the world, you are love. And your suffering is our suffering. Our suffering here in the US is your suffering. Okay? I'm not pointing the finger at anyone because that's not what it's about. And I'm always going to hold on to that. It's not about pointing the finger at anyone else because, as my ex-husband taught me, when you've got one finger pointing at somebody else, you've got three pointing back at yourself. So you've got to really look at yourself and say, where did I miss? Where did I miss whatever's happening? Why? Or maybe it's, why did I ignore myself? Why did I not go with my gut feeling? Well, I can tell you from experience. Well, I didn't want to inconvenience myself. I've I've witnessed this in life with others, in relationships, didn't want to be inconvenienced, wanted to make things easier, whatever. There's always some sort of justification, and that's why it happens. But you just have to be responsible and look at it and become aware of it and why you are where you are, why we as a collective are where we are. This is not an us thing here. This is a we thing. Okay. And before it gets further and further along in terms of escalation, I'm encouraging you to do your part, whether it just be posting about love like I'm doing and share your story, please, because knowledge is power. Remember, knowledge is power. Okay. And so we all just have to listen to one another differently. And we can do that. It's a choice. So until next time, be well. And I wish you peace, and may peace be upon you no matter where you are in our world.